Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? My God, it is like an oven in here in the studio right now, but we're going to get through this. No worries. Welcome to another episode of DOD45. I'm Ty of Art by Ty, and today our guest is Kristen of the Noisewrap duo Moodie Black. We have some interesting conversations about the hip-hop subgenre Noisewrap and how she helped to build up this particular genre. We also explore topics such as the timing of the release of their latest album entitled Fuzz, just as the pandemic struck, and then not being able to tour that album. And then we veer into some conversation about surviving the challenges that came with being a co-owner of a craft taco shop in Minneapolis amidst the pandemic and the racial conflicts, whilst also experiencing the vulnerabilities that come with being a trans woman. It's drawing over discussions, so during all this conversation, I also draw Kristen a tribute drawing of her recently deceased pet Chihuahua named Darra. Before we get into it, I'd like to take this moment to thank Chesky for referring Kristen and Moodie Black to me a few months ago, because I am now absolutely 100% a Moodie Black fan, and going forward, I will be using their music during many a drawing sessions. So thanks Chesky for that. And speaking of Chesky, peep this Moodie Black track, which also features him, and it is a banger.
14 years old, swallowed pills and cut up pubescent wrists in hope that someone would notice our adolescent hopelessness. Started from broken homes.
There's a lot to get to here, so without further ado, Kristen, welcome to DOD45. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, thank you for having me. I don't even know how. Chesky hit me up and was like, "Oh yeah, do you know?" I wasn't even aware or knew of you. I don't think until Chesky let me know, and I think it's awesome what you're doing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Before I start timing, I do like to ask, how are you doing? How have things been for you?
I'm doing all right. I'm busy. I'm very, very busy. But other than that, I think I'm okay. I'm always kind of borderline just okay, but I think I'm doing all right for now.
Were you busy during the pandemic, or has it just been this lull and now all of a sudden you're crazy busy?
I've been busy throughout the pandemic. I never stopped doing what I do, which is I have a lot of different things that I do. And the pandemic didn't really stop that from happening other than the music part of it. And then it became other things that I started doing. But now that things are opening up, now I'm even more busy because I was starting new things with the pandemic, and I'm keeping those going while also trying to get back into the things that I couldn't do because of the pandemic.
So, but music wasn't your full-time gig, or was it?
It was off and on a full-time gig. Yeah, I mean, it was almost not a full-time gig by choice, just so I can always have something to come back to and keep financially secure with. I think that's important for musicians and artists, no matter how successful, to have something else to sustain yourself if possible. So it was kind of like sometimes I'd be a full-time artist and musician, and sometimes I'd go back and do a side hustles here and there.
So when shows like tours or even live shows canceled, that wasn't like earth shattering for you. I mean, you already had something in place to.
Yeah, it wasn't earth shattering in the context of survival.
Right.
Financial survival. Yeah, it wasn't. It was earth shattering because it was devastating to a new album and project that we were releasing. But other than that,
was that the Fuzz album, or do you have something already? Did you have something coming out?
Yeah, that was the Fuzz record.
Oh, okay. I've been listening to it all morning. I listened to it on my run this morning. I've been listening to it all day. It's fantastic. Your music is perfect for when I draw, because I listen to music when I'm drawing, and
awesome.
The soundscapes and the vibe is just right up my alley. So
that's awesome.
I'm a huge fan, and I'll be 100% honest. I hadn't heard of you or Noisewrap really that much until Chesky pointed you out to me, and I was like, I'll check it out.
I can't believe how many times or how many instances that Chesky is responsible for doing that for people, getting them to learn about just all sorts of artists and connect us. It's really insane when you trace back like what Chesky's responsible for in terms of like art and music and all the people he's connected and bridged. It's really It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, Chesky's just an awesome guy. I mean, I've only met him through my first interview with him, but we've become friendly since. So yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that you're somewhat okay, and that's normal.
Yep, totally normal.
All right, well, we'll get the timer going here, and I'm gonna try to draw your Chihuahua who had recently passed away.
Yeah.
What was its name? Was it a he or a she?
Darra was her name. Yeah, she was I think she made it to 15. She was an older dog, but we had her for a large part of our lives. So
And that's a recent loss.
yeah, it was I don't know, maybe 3 or 4, probably like 4 weeks now.
Well, I'm sorry to hear of your loss. My drawings sometimes can go a little crazy, but this is in tribute to your dog. So keep that in mind. So, all right, first question that I want to start off with. Do you know who first started referring to it as Noisewrap?
That's a loaded question. I think that we were probably, I consider ourselves to be the forerunners and the curators of Noisewrap. It's not, we weren't the originators. There are a lot of people that came before us, and it kind of splintered off from like old, what people would call post rap. I heard that referred to like from some of the old themselves record, like Dose One and some of those more experimental rap groups. I heard that. I consider the forefathers to be Dialect, which is a group out of New Jersey that had been doing stuff since the late 90s. But even then, they weren't calling it noise rap. Like you heard industrial noisy rap, but you didn't hear noise rap. And I think about 12, 13, 14 maybe years ago, we started coining that when we bought the domain of Noisewrap.com, and we started to kind of like tell people this is noise rap, and we really wanted to brand it that way because we were trying to make it make sense for people and brand it as dumb. It's kind of weak as an artist to be like, yeah, we're trying to brand it, but that's what we try to do.
No, I mean, yeah, if you most artists are recognized when they have a brand. I think that's awesome because it answers what my follow-up question was going to be. Is that like you like that being referenced as noise rap? And apparently so. If you're I think it's perfect. I mean, it's a perfect title for it.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't, it's still very undefined by and large by a lot of people that like yourself that just are learning about it. And then but it's just a cool little subgenre. And I think there's a lot of similarities between the few noise rap groups that do exist that I think is really cool, socially as well as sonically. And it had a moment with like Death Grips and Clipping and some of the bands that people hear about in public mainstream consciousness. And I think that that's cool too, that it's such a weird genre that kind of came out and hit the mainstream in a little bit of a way. I don't think we've seen the end of it though.
Yeah.
I think it's just starting.
Well, since you mentioned it, I did have this Sophie's Choice question lined up: Kanye or Clipping?
Do I have to choose between the two? That's a tough choice. Well, I'm gonna go with Clipping. It's cool because we were supposed to do a couple things with Clipping, and hopefully that was before David went ahead and started doing Sesame Street and big time motion pictures. So he doesn't have the time to do stuff anymore. But I think Kanye West is cool too. I mean, politics aside and kind of some questionable decisions he's made recently, I think Kanye West is a pretty awesome musician too.
Funny enough, my son, he is
both of them are big Clipping
fans.
They're
huge Clipping fans. And I didn't, does Clipping line up in that genre of noise rap? Would you?
Yeah, 100%. There's a handful of groups that I deem to be noise rap, and I have a very specific set of rules that you have to fall into to be inside of it. And I think some people get upset about, you know what? There's no rules. There shouldn't be rules. But I hold a standard of like, I'll sum it up really quickly. It's just like, having significant original contribution to like noise and rap. That's a fully realized sort of sound that you bring to the table that differentiates you from other noise rap groups. It's not just mixing loud music and samples, which it could be, but you have to have a defined sound that kind of contributes. And Clipping is definitely one of those groups, and they have more of that glitching, like electronic, sample-based noise and just pure noise in their music. as opposed to like someone like us in dialect that is more guitar based and soundscapes and beautiful sounding stuff. So I would put clipping on the list. Blackie, I don't know if you've heard of Blackie. Death Grips is on the list. We get compared to them so much that it's just like, oh God. And we were around before. So that's another point of contention with a lot of groups like Clipping and Death Grips is we get those comparisons, but it could be frustrating because we were doing it before those groups. So it's just an odd thing that to watch that happen and kind of like watch from the sidelines when we've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, and also, in art or producing any kind of artwork, like the whole any sort of comparison is not, artists are definitely want to be on their own. So like comparisons are never a good thing to do. Yet everyone wants to do it. And I think for the most part, when people are doing stuff like, oh, you're like a Kanye and a this, like they mean well, not realizing that they're kind of like just taking away what you create on your own voice. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's totally true.
How about this one? Nicki Minaj or Ministry?
Oh goodness, and I'm gonna go. That's another weird one because of the person, and the music are like I have to separate these things because like there's questionable shit and all this stuff. But
right.
I'm gonna go. Ministry is another group that people talk about. Oh, are you influenced by Ministry? I never even heard them or listened to them often. I have to go with Nicki Minaj on that question just by default.
Are you a Ministry fan now though? Or
I don't listen to a lot of music, like a lot of current music. I know might sound kind of odd, but like I'm not. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm not moved to listen to a lot of music. I don't know why. I do listen to like older stuff like The Cure over and over again. I just listen to it over and over again. And like old 80s music and stuff like that. But Ministry, I've listened to it. I like it. I just don't go back to it.
Yeah. Well, and I was since you brought it up, what is the best Cure album?
That's kind of hard too. I would say Disintegration is probably my favorite one, or even Pornography is a cool one too. Just I like the darker things. And actually, just to round out a top three, their first record, the Three Imaginary Boys album, is awesome. I listen to that over and over and over and over.
Yeah, I'm a big Cure fan. I'm never embarrassed. I don't mean to say embarrassed, but how sometimes people want to try to talk shit on the Cure, and I'm just like, dude,
that's weird.
Fantastic music.
yeah. If they only listen to like the stuff that they're known for, I guess you can make fun of it. But we know if you get into the Cure, they're responsible for so much cool, soundscapes and influenced a lot of people, and they're legends. They're rock and roll Hall of Famers. So
yeah,
what's not to like?
I was gonna say. So like I said, I've been listening to Fuzz all morning long. It does seem like your lyrics and vocally you're on top of the music a little more than the two first albums. There was some on I keep wanting to call it with the Acid album. What's that album called again?
You're right, Lucas Acid.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It seems like on that one too, there's some songs on there that your vocals are on kind of above, on top of the beds. But was that a conscious decision to do that, or is it just a growth in your creating of the music?
It's both. It was conscious, and it's a growth thing. We feel like part of the reason why people may not be able to connect with it is because a lot of people that are successful in music, like it's about the story more than anything that makes people really interested in musicians and artists. So we were just trying to highlight that over the last few years of Moodie Black and put that in the forefront, as opposed to like this blank, which we do kind of do on purpose. So we also are mindful of like our aesthetic and what we're doing. So like we are also trying to retain as much of ourselves to ourselves as we can, while also giving a lot. So we put it on top for those purposes of like, here, we'll give you a little bit more. I'll be a little bit more clear with what I'm saying, as opposed to so coded as I've used to be in the past. But it's also about growth too, because some of my favorite musicians like The Cure are just so good at putting together simple, basic lyrics that are just awesome, that you think are very easy to write, but they're difficult to come up with. And I think I want to master that. And you'll see us as we keep making projects kind of try to see if we can master that, because we really want to be able to find a way to connect on a level like The Cure did.
Right.
And I mean, that's my goal. It's always been, and it's like that's what I'm aiming for. So that's what I think you'll be seeing more of as we continue.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, when the music itself is connectable, because well, shit, I don't know how I was going to phrase this question. You'll find oftentimes I start to say a sentence and then my brain will not allow me to get there.
Totally cool.
How about Mazzy Star or Ringo Star?
Oh, let's go with Mazzy Star.
Okay.
I just, again, two people I don't know too terribly much about.
Yeah.
I'm just so not a music. I study like live performance. I love watching live performance videos because we're always working on our live show, and I love that. And I feel like not enough people give enough attention to that kind of stuff with their shows. But I don't pay attention. I'm just like not a music nerd at all, and I'm bad with names too, like band names, and I'm horrible at that stuff.
I know exactly. I feel you 100%. I get asked a lot about artists, and I don't know shit about them. I'm only focused really on my art.
Yeah, we're selfish, horrible artists.
Yeah, which is what's great. Why I love interviewing or having discussions. I hate saying the word interview. I like having discussions with musicians because that's something I can 100% appreciate because
Totally.
I make music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did you grow up at?
I was born in El Paso, Texas, and I moved there from there when I was 5, and I basically grew up in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh wow! But you're now in Minneapolis.
I'm now in Minneapolis for now.
How long have you been there for?
Off and on for like 8 to 10 years. We lived in LA for a bit. Went back to Phoenix for a bit. Back here in Minneapolis for a bit, just because my partner, Jamie, who does all of our visual artwork, is from here. Her parents live up here, so that's how I ended up in this area of the country.
Okay. What place do you feel most familiar, or which place feels like the most balanced for you?
I don't know. I don't feel. I never. I always don't. I always want to get out of here, so it's not here. But anywhere in the Southwest, I love the desert. I'm drawn to that in Phoenix, and I loved LA a lot. But we had to get back here for all sorts of crazy reasons. But I what I like about here is how progressive Minneapolis is. So it's kind of feels like a safer space, which is wild to have to think about it, and just ridiculous to think about just having some safety and an autonomy as a human being in our country.
Yeah.
So you have to take that into account. Like, so it's a cool progressive space with nice parks, and it's just a terrible winter. But other than that, yeah. And the music scene, a long time ago, I came out here. Oh, it's Minneapolis with hip hop, and that didn't go over so well.
Oh, chasing it forward specifically for the hip hop scene.
Yeah, we never connected really well with the hip hop scene here, and that's been our role forever as Noisewrap and just being different. Hip hop has never really embraced us very much, and in turn, we didn't embrace hip hop, and apparently we're the bad people for that. So
that makes plenty of sense to me. I mean, makes sense doesn't mean it's justifiable, but it does make sense to me. But I hate that. I hate shit like that you would expect or want to hope that there's a little more progressive than they actually are. I mean,
unfortunately, not so.
Yeah,
and it's not like I was like the nicest person about it. I've made a lot of mistakes myself, saying things in public and things those are the things that that I mentioned, like things you regret saying that are true, but like you just got to be more mindful. And as I get older, of like when and how you say things, I think it's important to have that, and I take responsibility for some of those things.
I have such a similar thing. I said something about a very, 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 very famous, popular artist who is alive today that everybody loves. Mm-hmm. And I'm early on in my art career, and I get compared to him all the time. And I said some dumb shit in an interview, and I regret it now. Yeah, because I know that ever since then he had heard about it. Maybe, I think, but yeah, I get nothing from this person anymore. So
I kind of feel like we're all on a learning curve, though. Because we weren't, I mean, we did have social media. It was coming out while we were a little bit younger, but like just being able to have people hear what you say is a little bit different than just saying whatever on the street to whoever's listening. You know,
It's true.
become
Yeah, especially if you have a platform of
accountable now.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a catch-22 because it is nice now that people can be held accountable for shit they say. But yeah, it would be nice if we could. Yeah,
But it's also hard. Like, we're trying to teach our kids, like, okay, how do you say what you want to say without repercussions later on? It's a new world out there.
just
Yeah, for kids nowadays, it's got to be really weird because that's we have the hindsight and like we don't really we're not growing up in a world that's so dominated by that. But these kids are right in the middle of it, and they're having to deal with. I that would be wild having to deal with like social media being what it is as the 13-year-old is. That's
You're
I don't even know how to approach that.
when you're strong and passionate and have everything to say, and you just full on say it.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's great, you know, that people can hear you, but then sometimes you're like, you got to reel that back just a hair.
yeah. I mentioned I don't mention it as much anymore in the discussion, but my daughter is, I consider her an activist, and she uses her accounts to speak up. She's on the right side of things, but sometimes I sense like she's very, very strong with what she says, and I just get worried. I'm like, just remember, some people haven't reached that level of, where you're at. Just because sometimes you gotta allow. That's just how I want to raise her. But yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. It's interesting because everything you're saying is and everything that I'm saying about what I would get reprimanded for or ruffled feathers about, nothing that I said I regret,
right.
like with the actual content. I was always it maybe came across negatively, but it was always in the context of wanting things to be better,
Yeah.
or calling things out, especially the music scene that were not good. And I would say things at times that weren't the best, but these things needed to be said too. So it's like also I became, a victim of some of that before there was, the woke culture and
Yeah.
and canceling. But before all that, I was saying things that now people are like, oh, there's a big problem with this. It's like, well, we were saying that a long time ago, and I was the bad person for calling these things out. And so that was like a lot of the stuff when you mentioned somebody earlier, like in the hip hop scene, and
Yeah.
I was mentioning issues that were going and that still very much do go on in those scenes, and I was saying that these things need to be addressed, to be fixed. And it's no surprise that those scenes kind of ate themselves from the inside out because nobody really watered those grounds and nobody held people accountable, and everybody was very selfish, which we all are.
Sure.
But I felt like there should have been more care taken to like who would come next. And it's not a surprise that, gosh, you don't see a lot of people that came after that, those crews back in the 2000s in the hip hop scene. And I think it's largely because they just ran themselves out, and people like us that are still here and able to talk about it just don't mess with that stuff anymore because
Yeah.
it was so off-putting.
Yeah, and for me, like without naming any names, because it's really I don't really know a whole lot about it, but I only just recently heard about everything that was happening in Minneapolis after the pandemic. Like, and I know it happened way back in June. I mean, it was always happening, but one of my for my own selfishness, one of my favorite MCs of all time is right at the forefront of that whole big thing that was going on there, and I struggle with like his music had really it meant a lot to me, the shit that
Sure.
but I don't agree with some of the shit was happening. So yeah, I don't know. I'll go away from that because I want to. I don't know enough about it to get into it, but
me neither. All I did want to say about that was I didn't know the level of salaciousness and the when it got to like the incredibly serious accusations of stuff.
yeah,
I wasn't aware. I was here, but I didn't engage with any of these people beyond a show here and there. And I just was not friends. I'm not that person that likes to hang out. So I didn't encounter a lot of it, but I knew enough about the individuals in other instances to know that they're probably the kind of people that would engage with what's happening. It's like one of those, call a spade, or if you get a hint of, so, I mean, again, it's okay. Like now we just have to be able to, I hope we can build from it. And
yeah.
The people that are representative of a better, and it's so nowadays it's so hard because you never know. Like you might put somebody else on a pedestal, and who knows what they're gonna end up doing. And it's just hard. Like people aren't perfect, so it's layered.
That's true. Yeah, there are many layers that way because I was raised to allow people to be forgiven if you can sense they really need or are worthy of
Sure.
forgiveness. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things, but it's always I'm a proponent of wanting things to be better for everybody. Like I don't see why there's any sort of why anyone's fighting against that. It's just beyond me.
Agreed.
What's one of the grossest things that you've ever eaten?
Grossest thing, that's hard because I like eating, so I like a lot of stuff that people might consider gross. I don't.
Or is there anything gross? Or is there something really exotic that you tried that you actually ended up liking?
I'm trying to think of just gross stuff that I don't like, and that's hard.
You have a least favorite food then?
I think I do, but I just stay away from so much that I'm just struggling to think of like exactly what that would be. I think it's all about like there's no food that I dislike. It's if it's prepared poorly. Like a bad Brussels sprout that's just like steamed is not good. But if you steam fry it and season it, it's amazing. So like it's more stuff like that, I guess. Yeah, because even like weird seafood, I love, or like oysters and stuff like that. I like. Most people don't, or not most people, but some people don't. Love sushi. I want to try more exotic food, like in Mexico. I haven't had like those little grub worms or like those crickets and stuff like that. I think I've had them, but they don't taste like anything, so it's not really that gross to me.
Have you had a grasshopper taco?
Not a taco, but I've had grasshopper before, like the little box of grasshoppers. And again, it's not like that bad.
Yeah, we're mostly vegan just because our kids have a dairy allergy, but my wife has been a vegetarian pretty much all her life, and she does most of the cooking in the house just because she's the better cook. But yeah, so we mostly eat vegan, but I'll eat anything that's presented to me. I'm willing to try it.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys are kindred eaters. He eats everything, and I'm like, really? You're gonna eat that, huh?
I'll try it.
That's like, awesome.
Delicious.
Yeah, I think it's important to try anything and everything. I get it though, because some people, I mean, it's all about textures for a lot of people. So like some stuff is just gross. I get it.
In my head, I think like, oh, I'd totally try that. It's just that I don't eat meat, so I'm not.
And what's fun about it too, sometimes she'll see something on the menu and she'll be like, you should get that. You should try that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a good workaround to like be able to try some meat without touching meat at all. Here you go.
Speaking of food, are you a Juicy Lucy fan?
Oh, I'm a huge Juicy Lucy fan. Matt's Bar.
That's what I was going to ask. Who's got the best? Because I hear that it's between Matt's Bar or 5-8 Club.
I don't understand the 5-8 Club people.
What is Juicy Lucy?
It's Juicy Lucy is a very popular cheeseburger here, and the secret to the juicy is that the cheese is melted on the inside between two patties. Yeah, and it's like it's kind of hard to do. People can't do it properly, but yeah, you just smash a couple patties with some cheese in the middle and grill it up, and then you bite into it and a bunch of cheese oozes out, and that's a Juicy Lucy.
Yeah, I've never had one. We are coming out to see your show not next weekend, the weekend after, and I think I'm gonna give a Juicy Lucy a try. I'm gonna have to do it when we leave because, like I said, we don't eat much meat, and when I do, my guts don't love me for the day.
It makes sense. I eat meat, but I know that it's not the best thing for you. And I totally get people that don't eat meat, and I totally get how it's gross. It's so weird. Like I love it, but like I totally get how people could be like, that's disgusting, because it is. Yeah,
I mostly only eat sushi, and I can see why people don't get it. But what's something that could possibly be delicious on a taco, but we've not seen before?
That we haven't seen before? That's hard. Because we do a lot of weird tacos. I think the nopales, which is cactus, is really good. It's weird, but people do it. That's kind of a staple though in Mexico. So it's been done before. Yeah. I'm trying to think of something that hasn't been done. We do a hot dog one, but that's been done. I mean, I was a kid.
A hot dog taco?
Yeah, we do a breakfast taco that's a weenie and egg.
Oh, and you just chop up the hot dog, or is it just like full hot dog in there?
You chop it up and you grill it up with some butter and some salsa, and you put some eggs on it and cheese, and that's what I ate when I was a kid. So that's like a comfort food. And kids like it.
Is that a regional thing? Because my mom or my grandma was from the New Mexico,
100%.
Colorado area, and that's what she fed us in the morning was hot dogs.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it is totally regional because it's like that Southwest Tex-Mex style. I think I'm almost positive.
Throw in some enchilada sauce on top.
Totally. Yeah. Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do you like green chilies?
Of course.
You miss them? Because I mean, where do you get them when you're in Minneapolis?
You don't get them when you're in Minneapolis. People complain about that. People that know. One of the living in Minneapolis is a huge challenge, actually. Making Mexican food or finding good Mexican food because people love it here, but they don't know like any different, which is fine. But like to get those flavors, I use my mom sometimes. Like I'll be like, hey, can you ship whatever I need? And she gets it right because she lives in Phoenix. So I kind of have a workaround. You can get stuff shipped, but you never know where it's coming from. So if you get it from your mom, you know where it's coming from.
Yeah, we like we said, we travel all over the country about 8 months out of the year, and we're rarely in the Southwest. So whenever we're like passing through New Mexico, like you can bet we're trying to find some place to stock up on as much green chili as we can.
Yeah, I can't, and that's what a great workaround for people are vegan or and vegetarian food. Green chili is a great. I mean, you can put that on anything and make it delicious with tofu or soy crumbles or
Yeah.
I mean, talking meat substitutes, but like even vegetables and I mean anything.
That and hot sauce.
Yeah, hot sauce too, and that's good. You could eat crap tons of that and barely have any calories. Hot sauce is a magic ingredient.
Yeah, my wife drinks gasoline. Like no hot sauce is hot enough for her.
That's awesome. That's great.
How about soup or cereal?
Definitely soup. I like a good hot and sour soup. Asian soups are like the best. And then like menudo and stuff like that, I guess it counts as a soup, but definitely soup.
Do you have a specific process like when you're writing your lyrics, or is it different every time?
Oh, it's might sound weird, but it's kind of torture. I guess torture is a little bit strong, but making an album, making music, and then writing lyrics and all that stuff, because I do all the production, I do all the writing, I do everything. So it's like all one huge process. And the writing usually comes after I'm really excited about a production, but it's so personal and it's always so, I have to have a real reason to write everything that I'm writing. And so when I'm in that space, I'm just like a mess, if that makes sense. Like it's like
writing a book or something. I mean, because you're really going deep into into yourself and having to confront things that maybe not be comfortable.
That and 100%. And then also challenging myself to be the best, because at the same time I'm like, how can I do things that are different that other people don't do? And so like that, I mean, that's what we've done. So
you're even speaking of like the pressures of making it the best it can be. That can be overwhelming too.
Yeah, I get caught up in that, but it's also not good. It's also like this process of not caring and caring. But as you've talked about, the older I get and the more we keep putting out projects, I'm trying to write things that I can connect with people better with. I'm trying to write in a way that would make sense to somebody listening, that could like understand where I'm coming from, because I think rappers too often times are caught up in their own selves. And I'm like, why does anybody care about what you're saying? Like I get caught up in that. Like and you hear a lot of rappers get caught up in that and like trying to rap so cool. And I'm like, okay, like what's the point? What's the point of that? So I'm confronting a lot of that nowadays when I'm writing. I'm like, it has to mean something to me, and like it has to connect with somebody. So there's all that going on as I'm writing the words and stuff like that.
Is it always self-evaluative, or do you sometimes will you put in lyrics just to go along with the bed of the music?
It's always, I don't know how to write unless it's like a self-evaluation or it's coming from within. Like I've tried to, and I want to do that more. Again, that's something I'm working on. Like, how can I make this not about me, not about us? Mm-hmm. And so you even see in Fuzz, like these themes are starting a little bit more to pull away from just personal narrative and a little bit more about society. And then I get caught up in like, and I already did this on Fuzz and it bothers me, but like I hate talking about things that are like too topical for the time period.
Sure.
So like you hear a lot of rappers now talking about like social media and cancel culture. Well, and I did the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
But I want people to go back and listen and not feel like, oh, this is from this era. They were caught up. So I'm working on that on new stuff. But you can see how there's a lot there. There's a deep well of craziness when it comes to like what I do with the writing and producing the work.
So I just want to be clear. You'll write the music all first before you start putting in lyrics.
Usually I get the production to like a bass foundation, like something that I really like. And then sometimes I'll write a part, a vocal, and then record it right away. And then it'll just be like a vocal and like a part of a production. And then I'm adding production on top of stuff. And then I'll wait until like that's so I kind of like, I don't know how you do it with paint, like drawing or painting, but it's kind of like patchworked. Like and then if I feel something, this feels like an album project, then it like just slowly starts to define, and we'll go in there and tweak and move things around. And then at that point, then I'll add like a bulk of the words after the production's mostly fleshed out. And then once that's done, then I'll go back in and add some more instrumental parts. So it's like it's a back and forth between vocal and production. Because the words that and the way that I write and the words that I write aren't necessarily linear. Like it's you're not getting, I don't write like literal all the time. And sometimes I leave things kind of like a drawing, but with words where it's like I'm not intending for you to get something out of this. And then the meanings that people get out of it are bizarre.
Yeah.
Like I didn't mean that, but that's cool that you're getting that out of it, or they try to dig so deep into it. Like Mike Seatown I love Mike Seatown, a good friend of mine, but it's like there's a lot of he's the closest person to understanding them. But yeah, I will purposely make it obtuse if it's too clear.
Yeah.
To my detriment, I'm sure.
Is that what spot in Minneapolis do you will you send people to, like whether it's a restaurant, like what's the one place that you're just like, oh, if you're in town you got to go to here?
Well, it's definitely Matt's bar. That Juicy Lucy is definitely one of them. I think that's actually the number one. Like if you come to Minneapolis, you have to go to Matt's and have the Juicy, because I know it's consistently awesome. Other than that, I then it's more about what I'd say stay away from. I'd say don't go to the Mall of America, unless you're gonna ride Paul Bunyan. I love the log ride. That's forgivable. But I'm trying to think. I want to give one more place that I would think. Gosh, I'm so foodie centric that I'm just thinking of food spot. When I go into a town or we tour, it's all about the food spots. Absolutely. Like, because and I miss that. I miss hitting different food places and locations way more than playing on a stage in random cities. Because I love that part of it. I love playing shows, but you can do that. I mean, I can play a show right now to myself.
Yeah.
But so I would say that's it. I'd say that spot, and then you definitely gotta go find a river, and go down a river.
That's what we're doing when we're coming in town to see your show.
Yeah. Oh, do that. I don't know how far or which when you're like a big thing here, which I think might be weird to people, is like people go and grab a tube and they go down rivers and drink alcohol. Yeah. So that's what they do here.
So I love that when you're on stage, you're Moodie Black, but then when you're off stage, you're Foodie Black.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. That's awesome. Yeah, we thought about calling some of our food fans the Moody Foodies and all those fun little foodie names. But yeah, totally. Foodie Black maybe first, and then Moody Black after that. It's awesome. We love food. Yeah, it's a thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, shoot, I was gonna say Tech Nine or 9 Inch Nails.
That's a great question. It's gonna go to Tech Nine, as weird as that sounds. Oh. 9 Inch Nails, again, tons of comparisons. We actually call ourselves the 9 Inch Nails of Noisewrap, just because for an anchoring point, not because, I mean, I like Trent Reznor a lot. The reason why without Tech Nine, I probably wouldn't be doing this. Like Tech Nine was one of those people that got me really into rap. I saw him at the Sprite Liquid Remix tour when they were doing it like in 2002 or something with like Jay-Z and like Nappy Roots. But yeah, Tech Nine had an amazing live show. And ever since I saw him live, I was like, I want to do this. And that's when I really got into like performing and all that stuff. And it was people don't realize, like, I mean, Tech Nine's probably one of the greatest rappers ever. Just a phenomenal rapper. So it's Tech Nine for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about Dolly Parton or Parliament?
Oh, Dolly Parton for sure. Just because Dolly is pretty. I mean, how can you not like Dolly, as especially as a queer person or a trans woman? She's been so cool and inclusive, and just I think a great example of a woman in the industry at the time. Like just what she's done, and she seems. Again, I hope she's not problematic in any way. You can't be too sure of people from the South. You always gotta be careful.
No.
But she seems to be a beacon of light, like with that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I can't hate on Dolly.
Oh, do you have a favorite location other than like when you're at home, somewhere across the world or a town or something? Do you have a favorite spot?
I love France. France is like our second home when we can go over there. I don't know why. I think maybe we can assume why, but we do really well. Moodie Black is really accepted and understood and does really well in France. And we have good friends there, and our best live shows have been there. Our biggest live shows have been there. Lyon in particular. I mean, I would move there. We've thought about it. I would love to open a taco shop in Lyon if I ever could one day, because they don't have taco places. Like Lyon is cool. Nantes is another cool city out there. Paris is cool in the countryside. I'm not really into the city stuff.
Yeah, us either.
Yeah, it's I guess if you're a tourist, it's cool. There's some cool things, but that's my favorite spot. And the landscape is amazing. The way that they treat and respect art and music is just so awesome.
Yeah, the appreciation for the arts in European countries is just fantastic. It's inspiring.
It is, yeah. And then I think that's why I like going out there, and it also like it reinforces, because of what we do and the work we do, and our country, the United States, is so, gosh, it just is so not favorable for like an artist or musician. That makes you feel really small, especially when you're doing like creative or different work, like, and you have to sit here and watch and be inundated with people that don't necessarily put that much work into things be successful. And that's hard. That could be difficult.
Does that get frustrating when you see
it? It shouldn't. Like, I know, and that's what I'm working on myself with. Like, it's so hard. One of my hardest lessons is I'm trying to learn to like not let that affect me, because I understand that that's like, I need to focus on my own thing, but it can be frustrating. Just because you could probably do a little bit more and have a little more financing available to do what you want to do and get these ideas out, or be able to be more comfortable. And it's so challenging to do it. And there's just not a lot of support. And we're so splintered off, like, and depending on where you live, like, it's really hard as an independent musician, artist, or whatever, to get a foothold right now. In particular, I think it's probably harder than ever. And people think because the internet and social media that it's easier, but that doesn't mean doesn't translate necessarily to sustainability. And so we're trying to figure out how we're going to make that work with the music, as opposed to just our taco spot, which makes a lot more sense to like be financially stable than the music does right now.
I saw on the menu you have ahi tacos over there. Do you have anything that vegetarian can eat?
Yeah, the hipster death veggie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's just a sweet potato kale hash.
Awesome.
And all of our like the green salsa is vegan, and our rice and beans are vegan. So we just start at the base of vegan, because Minneapolis has a huge like vegan population. So we wanted to make it not, because of like our limitations, we wanted to make sure that we kind of had a base of vegan stuff, so that we can serve that population without having to like have multiple things, and because we could still make it taste amazing. And people always have a misconception that vegan and veggie is not good or it tastes bland. And I just think, especially nowadays, like with cooking culture, vegan stuff is oftentimes better than stuff with meat or anything like that. It just tastes amazing, depending on where you go.
Go ahead, Adrienne.
I was just going to ask, well, is it called the taco spot?
It's called MB Foodhouse, Moodie Black Foodhouse.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say, being a vegan in 10 years ago was like maybe potato chips and
Iceberg lettuce,
iceberg
French
lettuce.
fries.
Perfect.
But nowadays, like really, you can go for anyone to say you can't get good vegan food is just crazy because there are so many restaurants out there making unbelievable food without any meat. It's possible.
Yeah, and the meat substitutes are insane. Like there's burgers that are just as good, if not better, than any great burger
They're
you've
so
ever had.
good. Adrienne, my wife, she can't even eat them. They taste too much like a burger or makes her a little sick.
We went to one spot recently. We were in Pittsburgh, and they only had like a Beyond Burger or something along those lines, and so I just got it because I could. But mine was still a little pink, and so I made him switch me his because I was like, I can't.
She can't even eat pink fake meat.
That's so odd. Yeah, and they're doing that on purpose now, where they're purposely inserting meat that bleeds. That's not meat at all. It's kind of wild.
It's weird.
It is weird.
Are in public spaces like are you outgoing or reserved? Like for instance, like if you go to a small venue performance, are you the type to be up there in the front or more sticking to the back of a show?
I'm sticking to the back as much as I can if I'm going anywhere. I try not to go anywhere. I'm pretty reclusive. Depending on the day, I'm tall, which is good and bad. Because I'm just out there. I'm visibly trans, which is another thing, which is good or bad. So that also plays into it because some days I just don't want to be a spectacle.
Yeah,
it sounds weird, but like you get used to the static and the stares and the BS, but sometimes you don't want to deal with it. And I don't think people realize like how overt and how much in my face that is on a day-to-day basis. And that's made me, unfortunately, I don't know if it's good or bad, a little bit more reclusive to going out. And then especially if I'm gonna go somewhere, I want to be low key and not be seen. And I think that's why I also like performing, because then that's the time when I can let loose. And then these people now you have permission to stare at me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you something to stare at.
Yeah.
And I'll probably make some snide comments if I caught you staring earlier than that.
Well, that makes total sense because you want to go out and just be yourself, be in your own skin, and also fade into the background. You don't need, everybody has to go to the store or whatever, and they just don't need, you don't want to have to change who you are just to leave your house. So that
no way. And when you've done that for so long, like you definitely don't want to go back and have to do that. And it's like a whole weird problematic thing with just as a trans person too. It's like you're dealing with all of the societal garbage of being a trans, or being a woman. Being a trans woman comes with it's a whole set of like crazy stuff, and we deal with all the stuff that other women do, but also we're dealing with this other stuff, the trans people. It's so loaded, and it's just it eats up a lot of my mental space. And I'm even doing therapy and stuff like that to deal with it, because it's just, I don't know how you deal with it otherwise. Like you can't turn it off. Like you said, you have to go out and go get groceries, and gosh, you just want to be comfortable going to get groceries, and
you have to be true to you.
Well,
it's got to be a hard balancing act, a tightrope that you're constantly aware, but also need to just, I don't know.
Well, as society, I mean, the ridiculous part about it is that you even have to discuss it. Like, they even have to have a discussion like this, where it was like, no one ever talks. Nobody just goes, oh, man, I wish going shopping wasn't an issue for me. Like, I just hate that even has to even be something that, I don't know, that bothers me. But
it should bother. But I've thought those same things because I've lived life on the other side, and you see how it's not something I had to deal with, or something you deal with. And it's unbelievable when you are trans. And it's something I dealt with because I was dealing with it, even though people didn't see it outwardly. So I had that going on, but people, like, especially guys, have no idea, like, the static that exists for people that aren't like just straight looking dudes. Like, it's so wild, the privilege that when we talk privilege, and I don't necessarily like those kind of buzzwords and all that. I'm kind of tired of all that.
Yeah.
But there is definitely just this level of comfort that I don't miss it, because I'm so much happier, and like I'd rather deal with the static and this misery now, being who I am. So I don't miss it, but gosh, it's nice. You could just walk out. You could walk out right now. Just go out in your boxers and go buy some groceries at the store, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's so like dudes can do whatever they want. And women, trans women, queer people, gosh, everything is calculated. Like, I have to be careful when I'm out there. I'm always head on a swivel. You're always looking around. You're making sure that you're not going out. I don't go to a lot of places that I know where people might be that might harass. And I'm lucky that I don't get harassed a lot because of my size. I think for trans women that don't have the privilege of being tall, those are the ones that are getting a lot of harassment. Huge. They're getting murdered at a crazy rate. Don't mean to bring all this negative stuff up, but it's something that that you think about, that I think about on a daily basis, that until our human rights are put into place, and there's not all this rhetoric and talk about pronoun, we just need to get to a better place, because it's just
we need to get there quickly.
Hope. And it's every day feels like there is a lot of progress, but it also feels like, you see those comment sections, and it's just like it can be overwhelming.
It always feels like it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. That's
It does. Yeah.
Slow pace. I always felt like we were more progressed than we were, and then I got a taste of reality and went like, oh,
yeah,
dang it.
Yeah, it sucks.
That's what my daughter is out there always fighting the fight, and sometimes I will just point out to her, like, remember when you're doing it, make an advantage, a learning moment for somebody. Teach them a little something, so that next time they have any sort of issues, they'll think like, oh, I don't know.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that advice. I think it's I really like having allies. I like having people around that can advocate for me, because it's hard for me in the moment sometimes, and I'm exhausted. It feels really awesome to have people that can speak up for me sometimes, as domineering as I can maybe be as a musician. As a person, without the Moodie Black stuff, that's kind of like my armor. Without that, I'm pretty tame, as far as like, I'm not good at advocating for myself in the moment sometimes. So It's something I've got to work on too, but it's awesome to have allies that can do it.
Yeah. And good friends. Friends are always going to do, no matter what your situation is, they should be there for you. So
for sure.
Did you have any early TV crushes?
That's a funny question. That's also, I don't know. Like, gosh, you'd have to send me back to all sorts of weird, early TV crushes. I don't know. I think this plays up into we were just talking about the trans stuff. Because I'm also attracted to women when I was a kid. That was like really confusing to me, because like I was like, I don't know if I'm attracted to this girl or if I want to be this girl. It'd be the same. It'd be at the same time. So I'd be like, yeah, I think she's cute, but damn, I would love to like look like her. It was, and it's still, I mean, that's my life now. So it was interesting. So, but I would say like one of the, it's so weird because you asked that question, I had to evaluate it. That'll give you some insight, and maybe hopefully some listeners some insight on the reality of what is going on with trans people.
Absolutely.
Because that was and again, this happened back before there was no information on trans stuff that was readily available, especially when I was a kid. And so it was like really confusing, but like Stephanie Tanner in Full House. I loved Full House when I was a kid, and it was always Stephanie that I was into or wanted to be.
Have you tried?
I'm just gonna say these are all people I wanted to be too.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that is. I'm really happy that you approached it that way, because that makes total sense, and it's a perspective that you wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Have you watched the new Full House?
I watched part of it. I think I watched the first episode and I would turn it off. It was like the new Coming to America, which I loved Coming to America, and I saw that and I turned it off.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't do this. Yeah. All these new reboots and remakes are mostly disappointing. I like the Karate Kid. The new, the Netflix one is awesome.
Oh, yeah, where he's he has the car dealership.
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
they did that one right.
Let me ask you this: I really took a bit off a little more than I could chew with this drawing. Um, I'm wondering if you would mind just chatting with us for another 10 minutes, just so I can get at least a little more deep.
Whatever, I got time.
Okay, and then I will finish. Obviously, have to finish it up later, but I want to be able to at least get these. So all these flowers that I'm putting in here, these are flowers that you would usually give at as paying respects to like someone that has passed. So
That's awesome.
flowers that I'm putting in here.
I'm loving it.
Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon?
Fallon, because that's the show that I always say we should be playing on someday. I'm
Oh.
obsessed with trying to get on a late night TV show.
Yeah, that would. I mean, would you if you got on there? Let's run through some hypotheticals here. If you got on there and you were doing the Fallon show, would you? I don't know how they handle it, but would you want the Roots to play live, like some of the live music?
Sure, yeah. I mean, we always have we change lineups up. So sometimes we have a live drummer. We used to have a live drummer that full time. We've had guitarists. So yeah, of course, that'd be awesome if they can handle it.
Yeah, I mean, you know that Questlove can.
I know Questlove could do it. Yeah, we could definitely get Questlove the drums.
Yeah, he's been one of my favorite for a very, very, very long time. Saul Williams or William S. Burroughs?
Oh, Saul Williams for sure. Another huge inspiration. Probably again one of those people that without Saul Williams, I probably wouldn't be doing this. And a great live performer. The gravity of like owning your space and the way he would perform, like even in that movie where he's like in jail and like reciting that poem. I forget the name of that film. There you go.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it's a great movie.
Yeah. And so it's just that intensity. And then I met him once or twice. He just seems like a good person. Again, who knows if something comes out. I didn't say he was a great person, but if he's on the up and up, when you get into this business,
up and up.
yeah, like when you get into this and you start to meet people that you like or work with them, you start to really remember the people that were great people to you. Yeah. And that's how I always remember, like Dose One has always been really nice and amazing. And I just hold him in such a high regard as an artist, but then he was also cool. But there's also those artists I used to hold in high regard that you meet and you're like, oh, okay, now I no longer really, I can't even listen to this stuff anymore.
Wish I never met him. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you've encountered that.
I hear that a lot about Dose One. I have never met him, but yeah, I mean, everyone, speaks quite highly of him. So
yeah. And having the podcast that we do, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of really awesome people. So it usually works out okay.
I noticed that you said last episode are you finished with the podcast? Is that over or is that something you?
It's not over. We bring it back when I can make it work. The only reason why it's not always and all the time is because people are really bad at getting back to me. One of the biggest and most frustrating things right now for me is I can't get a hold of anybody. So or they don't respond. That goes for promoters. That goes for venue managers, that goes for other artists that I want to do work with, that goes for all the Noisewrap people. I am that's like such a raw nerve. I cannot get anything going because people are not getting back to me.
Yeah, I seem to take it personally, and then my wife always has to point out, like, maybe they just didn't see the message, or maybe.
I try to convince myself of that all the time. My partner tells me the same thing, and it's just so frustrating because it's been years and years of that. And then, like for podcast guests that we want to have, I understand wanting to be on platforms that seem big. And
yeah,
again, one of my criticisms of why culture doesn't grow and why we can't make a difference with Noisewrap stuff is we're not watering the grounds. We're not working with people we should be working with. We're going and we're working with established entities that are already established, and you're taking that money and you're moving on. If you worked with people that were growing or building things in community as opposed to doing the big shows all the time just solely, I think we'd have a more fertile ground. And I'm trying to make that happen, and it's been years and years of very little to no cooperation from other Noisewrap groups to work together.
How long about how long have you been out there pushing Noisewrap?
Probably like 12 or 13 years.
Yeah, so that's what you're like you said, you're pushing for the movement of it.
Yeah, and it really hasn't done much individuals have done well. And I just don't understand the disconnect between why I can't engage with those individuals and they don't engage with me. To me, it's bizarre. It doesn't make sense.
Are you're speaking on like individuals who have gone on and now they're, for quote unquote, lack of a better term, in the mainstream,
yeah,
where they
yeah.
can come back now and like help push the movement up?
Yeah, and I want to make sure to let people know it's not their responsibility.
Right.
So it's like, I get it. Like, I don't expect them to. They don't owe anybody anything, because that's the first thing they say. They think yeah, we know you don't owe us anything. I get it. But for me, if I was in that position, I would want to facilitate spaces for other people and contribute and give back and build with an individual like myself. At least once or twice. Can't be that hard to do a little bit of work with somebody, just because we don't have enough spaces and conversation on the ground level for young kids to get into noise rap and all. They don't even know it's a possibility or if it exists. And I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way. Like, I've been trying to do a noise rap festival for 5 years, and nobody gets back to me to be able to do that. If they do get back to me, the amount of money that we'd have to spend to bring one individual is ridiculous. Wow. And the problem is, we talk about taking it personal. It's hard for me to fork over 10, 12 grand, which some people want to ask for, when I don't think they're that much better than we are.
Right. Yeah, that is it. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be difficult.
But it's mostly so, because I'm just saying, let's make a compromise. Let's do something together. We could still pay you. You'll make plenty of money, but let's do it together and build something. And like, let's not just make it about that. Let's make it about facilitating a space. Because a lot of noise rap groups are POC, people of color. A lot of noise rap groups are queer. A lot of noise rap groups are, are peddling a lot of really cool social commentary, like JPEG Mafia, who I consider an outlier of noise rap. And I love all these groups, and I just wish we can get together to do something. And it's been hard to watch people get coverage. And now we have Backwash as a new act that just came out. And I'm just like, what are we doing wrong? Like, I look at myself, I hear the music, I see the presentation, and I don't understand. I'm like, what are we doing wrong? I just don't get it.
I don't understand. I don't at all. I have since learning of you, I've listened, and I've listened a lot. And I have listened to other people. I am a big fan of the clipping, but I don't know if that's
I am too.
My kids is liking it, but it's actually pretty awesome. So, but yeah, I wish I could provide an answer to that, because it makes zero sense to me.
It's funny because I've had conversations with some of them. Like, so I don't know if you've heard of Horror, H-O-9909, another noise rap based group from New York that's done pretty well for themselves. And we've been wanting to tour together, or I've been wanting to tour with them, and it never worked out. And we just by happenstance happened to play a show with them in Lyon. So I had to go all the way to France to play with this group that lives here in the country. That's because of how the industry works. Right. Like, there's so many, when you're in that level, they're working with agents, they're working with all these things that's why they can't do shows. But what I'm saying is, it's up to those individuals can make decisions to change, to have different management and make it a priority. And I'm saying not enough people are doing that. And this is why this trickles down to like the venues and the ability to have money, because we're not building culture, community, and acts. We're just taking, and we're contributing to this big industry system. And how noise rap can it be when you're doing that, like, and not building stuff? Like, because none of those people are really contributing on boots to the ground like we do. Yeah, we're doing that, and then we have to watch everybody get written about and talked about. It's so weird.
All the work and watching them take all of the.
It's awesome. But again, it's not personal. Like, it's again, like, I'm not saying like we're owed anything. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like it can be difficult to watch. Like, it's just hard to watch. I've been watching it for years, and I'm like,
I can sense like you understand kind of their position on that, but just wish it was. I wish they would come back and do some more. Are there noise rap festivals around?
Zero.
None. Not even anywhere in the country, huh?
No. Some people put together shows where you might see, like, there's a show coming up with Clipping and Dialect that are both on the same bill, and it's like an industrial night or industrial festival, but not noise rap based exclusive. And that's a good example too. Like, I posted I made a post because there was a dialect clipping thing, and Chesky posted, "Oh, Moodie Black should totally be on this lineup," and I reposted that, and I got in trouble for that from a member of a group, like, "Oh, you're raining on our parade," like by saying that you should be. So that's an example. This is an example of what that's what I mean. Like, things are like, again, that's kind of like what I'm up against when I'm trying to engage with and get people together on the Noisewrap plane and advocate for ourselves, who don't have as huge a platform as all the other acts. And I always get in trouble because I'm always speaking out like, hey, we should be doing this. And it's not from the era or the area of we deserve. I know nobody deserves anything. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, we're contributing, we're adding things to the conversation. Maybe look over here because, like, there's something off. Like, I don't know who we pissed off. I'm sure a lot of people, but like, for whatever reason, I feel like we're like just blackballed. And that was the whole ethos behind the Foodhouse podcast, was talking to these individuals and trying to figure out what did they do that we didn't do. And oftentimes the funniest thing you find out is that we just care too much, and people that care too much and know too much oftentimes, for whatever reason, just don't have the success and on those levels. But we'll figure out a way.
People that care too much oftentimes won't subject, because they care so much, they're not willing to take like either some shitty deal or something that goes against their core beliefs of what. So that's what I find, a lot of people who care too much, because caring too much is a good thing. That I'm on that side of it. But I find that that's what happens usually when people are that dedicated to what it is. They're willing to, they care so much about it, they're willing to let the money go if it doesn't, go with what they believe. And I prefer artists like that. I prefer that kind of person.
Because they're weirdos. But that,
I mean, that too.
that's been the thing. And that's been a good lesson to learn, though, is like a lot of people that are successful, the clippings, all that, they've just come from a different world too. Like, we've been, and I'm sure you have, like we've been working on boots to the ground and playing these little crappy venues for years and years. Horrors and clippings and death grips are either far removed from that element of their careers, or they had that classic story where somebody just happened to come up on them, that and so that seems to be like just what we've missed, like, repeatedly, is like just that person that is connected. And with social media and stuff, like the Anthony Fantano's, Needle Drop, they can make and break acts nowadays. It's just a bizarre place to be. It's a weird world.
It sounds like it's maybe like a crabs in a bucket sort of situation, where like there's a bunch of crabs in a bucket, and someone's trying to get out and free. And once they get out, no crab turns around and like pulls the rest of the crabs out.
It's 100% that. And again, it's not that crab's responsibility. I mean, go get yours. But
yeah,
I think we also fall into, and I've never thought about this till recently because I'm not that person, but I think there is some weird identity things, discriminatory things. And let's take the trans part out of it.
Sure.
I'm Black and Mexican, but I don't look Black and Mexican. I don't act quote unquote Black and Mexican. A lot of the acts that are successful in music, you can identify them. Like in Noisewrap, there's a lot of like, that's a Black dude, that's an angry Black dude right there. Like, right. Very problematic shit, right? That these little white kids that are fans of a lot of these groups, like, it's weird. It's oddly, I know maybe people don't understand that. Maybe I'm out of my mind. I'm not subscribing that this is exactly, I'm not saying that I know what I'm talking about. I'm just saying that this is what I've seen. And I think that because we don't fit any of those boxes, and then throwing the trans woman thing into it, I think that makes it a little bit harder for us to find a foothold and have people be able to easily identify what Moodie Black is. And then at the same time, we are talking about very, I guess, divisive things. So, I mean, I guess I get that. Maybe that's part of it. That's what all this has led me to. I've had to come to my own conclusion and like rationalize and make myself feel okay about it.
Well, I mean, that's what, I mean, it's what you, not just you, so most people do, but you seem to be, doing a lot of self-evaluation. So of course you're going to want to figure out why I mean, it seems like most people would, but I guess some people just don't don't really try to figure out why. By figuring out why, also that helps you, give you tools to okay, well, what can be changed? Yeah, I don't know. I feel that your music and you as a person are. This is just based off on one interaction here, but I think that you're fantastic. I think it'll work out. But I'm an optimist, so
Well, thanks. I need more optimists in my, but I know that we will. There's a weird thing. There's a weird thing in my life that I know that I know we'll figure it out. Like I'm going to, because I am so motivated to do it. And then just to get there, and I'm going to be like, this is what I wanted y'all to do for people. Because as I get older, it is becoming less about me. Like I want to be able to facilitate spaces for people and be able to, I don't know, just make things so people don't have to go through what we've gone through. That whole old adage of, I want to be able to have people have a space where they can engage with artists that they enjoy and they like and feel supported and have a place to play shows and be able to connect and all the things I didn't have. And for the betterment of Noisewrap in general. And I want to get us all together and have these Noisewrap people out there. I don't know what their problem is. I really don't know. They don't talk to me. I wish they would tell me to my face. Just tell me what the problem is.
Your music and yourself bring something new and far more interesting to the table. So I don't understand either why it hasn't.
Thanks. This helps.
We're gonna figure it out somehow. I mean, listen. I don't have the hugest following in the world, but like I said, what I do with this show is all about trying to push something that I'm a fan of, and I think other people will also be. Not just saying Noisewrap. I'm talking about your music. Well, I was gonna let me ask you this. I know I've ran on forever with you. I'm sorry, but
it's okay. Like I said, I've got time because I've got Sean up there working on some food stuff so we're good.
When you were talking about rules to Noisewrap, is one of the aspects that lyrically, like someone's rapping over it?
I think it is an important aspect of it. I think that actually can make and break a lot of groups, because for me and my interpretation of Noisewrap and mind people that are listening, it's an informed space, right? Like for many years of being into it. I think one of the most important parts of Noisewrap is that the vocalist, the rapper, whoever it is, it has to be a really good rapper, but also have a presence that can fit into Noisewrap production, because rapping over noise is a lot harder than just rapping on beats. But I think you have to have had mastery of rapping on normal beats first. So I think a lot of the Noisewrap acts that I really like have a huge history of like this really awesome hip hop culture as well. And that's something people don't understand about us is I came up like a pure hip hop kid. I was all into hip hop, and I learned how to produce by spinning and listening to vinyls on my own and ripping samples for hours and hours. Like I have that ridiculous boom bap education, and that's why we get along with Chesky, because that like Chesky's an amazing rapper but also vocalist, and so I think you have to be a great rapper to be considered and I'm talking about like really good, like David, like really good, and so like, or Death Grips, maybe not necessarily a great rapper but a cool vocalist, like just a cool sounding person. Backwash is a great rapper, a cool sounding person. Like that is really important, is because you're driving, you got to anchor those noise beats, which can be hard to do.
It's almost being used more as an instrument as well too, right?
Yeah, well, and we do that. So that's the other thing, is our contribution to Noisewrap, which I think is again largely not credited, is like we bring that shoegazy and post rock and melody, and we're not just rapping, there's singing and there's wailing and it's not just screaming. And the other thing is, I think right now the culture is really latches on to aggression. With Noisewrap, all they can understand right now is, oh, it's loud and angry, right? And we have all these different colors and emotions to our music, and I think that's also where people are having to catch up to still, is like, for me, and I don't like a lot of Noisewrap that's just angry, because I'm like, it's just on or off. Like give me different palettes of stuff now. Like I know you can scream and that's easy.
Yeah.
Like I want different colors and emotion and different like vocals and all that. So that's something that I think is unique to Moodie Black. I don't even dialect is and I say this respectfully, like pretty monotonous with just like this is rap and here's crazy beats. And we're more of like, because I produce everything myself too, I can weave like the vocal and production together and make this really cool thing that is just, I don't know. It's just, to me, you hear a lot of people say they're different and a lot of people say they're unique. And I think like in our instance, it's like, no, but like, this is that actual group.
What if money wasn't an issue, if it was the gift itself wasn't an issue, what gift would you give to a person like Chesky? If you could give him anything.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that is great. That is a fantastic question. My goodness.
Because was he instrumental in is he instrumental in your career choices and the things that are for your music? And
oh yeah, without Chesky, I don't know what we would have done.
Yeah,
there's no way we would be. I don't know how we would have released records. He released records, and the cool thing about Chesky is that he's given me the freedom to like, hey, do whatever I want, and he's never chastised me like a lot of the older rap people have when I've said dumb things or done dumb things. He's always stood by us and he's always believed in us, and gave us a chance, and never lectured us, because we got a lot of lecture. It'd be so if I was able to, again, it's not about that, but like the names of people that have told us things like, yo, this isn't your show, so you got to like tone it down when you're opening for like wild things that you just wouldn't think happened in underground. Anyway, like Chesky was never that person. And so like I'm trying to think that is because you know, Chesky's not, he loves to just give and he loves to help, and it's hard to think what he would want, because it's not like he wants money. He doesn't give a damn about possessions. And so it's like, I think the best thing that I would be able to afford him is success. As weird as I think he just wants to see people that he's helped be successful. And I think, to me, like when I think of what I can give Chesky, is like honoring and giving him back all the financing that he's given to Moodie Black. So there's a little money element there, but I think really what I can give him is just like building what we're doing, building our own spaces, using the platform that he's given us to give other people a platform. I think that to him means more than anything we can give him monetarily.
And you're still on you're on the Fake 4 label.
Yeah. I've talked to Chesky too about we should shore it up a bit, because it's there's so many different entities out there that used to be associated with Fake 4, which are all awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was going to stop doing Fake 4 stuff after the Fuzz album, but all this happened, and so I'm thinking we're definitely going to do at least our next record with Fake 4. So it'll continue on, and that's the other thing. Like if I was to get signed, I don't think I would. The only deal I would ever sign was all inclusive. Like you're taking, you know, it's all, I get everything. But if we ever have a larger platform, that's what we want to do is give it right back. The first person that's getting the support would be Chesky. So, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like he, with that label, that, you know, they're artist driven. Like that's, like you say, he doesn't give you lectures, doesn't chastise you for anything that you did on it. Because you get the best out of every artist when you allow the artist to actually be the artist themselves and have their own voice and not try to angle that around. So yeah, he's very good about that, which is why hopefully, I mean, they've always been one of my favorite labels. So there's no way I'm going to be able to finish this on this, but what I'll do is I'll get it finished up at another time. All right.
It looks amazing.
What was I going to just say? Oh, Starbucks or Caribou?
I'm going Caribou just because Starbucks is awful, like taste wise. That might be one of the most awful foods I've had. I'm a little bit of a coffee snob, and the coffee is no good.
I know that. So, you know, it's funny. Like early on, well, I don't know. I won't say anything about people. Forget what I was just gonna say there. I mean, here's the big question: are we alone in this universe?
Oh, no way.
Awesome.
No way. I don't know if it's, I'm not going to say it's aliens, but there's no way.
Right. It was such a pleasure talking with you. I'm so much in your corner with the noise rap.
Thanks.
I'm very much in your corner from being a trans woman. I don't never really feel like I have to say that I'm an ally. That seems weird to have to try to profess that. I just am as far as just being a human. I'm in the corner of people, like just people are
Humanity.
people. Humanity
You're
itself.
just being nice to people.
Yeah.
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 And but you can be. I mean, the more people like you there are, the better, and the more the people are educated on what trans is, the better. Because I think people just don't know that, like, it's a real thing. It's not something that's even if it wasn't a real thing, I don't understand. It still doesn't make sense why you would be disrespectful to somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the more people like you, the better. You're gonna make a lot of difference.
Well, thank you. I've always felt education is key. They always said it in GI Joe. The knowing is half the battle.
It's true. It'll be cool to be able to see you in person now that we've met like this, because I think it makes me even more excited to meet you in person. And
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Chesky's playing the show too, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to actually meeting you both in person. Yeah, I don't know. That's what this whole series has been really fun for me to meet people that I'm a big fan of, and you're certainly inspirational. Yeah, you're a perfect guest.
Thank you. Thank you. That's awesome. We'll inspire people.
Well, yeah, and truthfully, so anything, what's in the future? Like, do you have an album coming up? Is there what can we promote? What are some things that we can promote right here? Like, this is a perfect opportunity to point out those things.
There is no record coming out, although we're trying to get back on tour in France for Fuzz, which we never got to play Fuzz live. And the first tour was going to be overseas, and that didn't happen. So we're trying to do that next year. They want another project. I don't know how I'm going to make another project running the food place and all the stuff we're doing. So if you're ever in Minneapolis, I guess people can come down to MB Foodhouse and have some tacos Thursday to Sundays. You can find us all over the place on Google. And yeah, just check us out on Noisewrap.com and keep up with us. We're playing shows extremely sparingly. Again, trying to make them make sense. And hopefully we'll be touring and putting out records next year sometime.
How do you prefer people getting your music?
Noisewrap.com.
Okay.
It's simple. You go to the source. It's people give me they're like, oh, it's so cool. You own Noisewrap.com. I'm like, oh goodness. They're almost more impressed that we own Noisewrap.com than the music that it just makes no sense.
Oh, I did want to ask this because we had booked to come and see you guys. We're rarely in a place where. So we had the show. We had the Uptown, and we've been doing that show for almost 12 years. So we've been going to Minneapolis. We have now missed Minneapolis for 3 years in a row.
Whoa.
Sorry, 2 years. One because of the pandemic, and then this time around, they just didn't feel like it was going to be safe enough to put on a large scale event right there in Uptown. So what I was curious, because I'm hearing a lot of noise out there from people's opinions and blah blah blah. I can't accept their opinions because they're not there and they're just hearing stories. I'm wondering how do you feel about the situation on the ground in Minneapolis in a whole, not as this little thing like this is happening in Uptown, so Minneapolis is a dangerous place. Even if it is, things need to be better for everybody else, so everyone's got to be a little uncomfortable until it's better for everybody.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious to know from someone who is living in the area how things are going there.
It's weird. It's the city has changed so much. It was changing a lot before everything happened. And there have been multiple instances that have happened, a lot of which isn't even known nationally. The national media only covers, the most salacious of cases or whatever is popular. I'm extremely conflicted about everything going on. Basically, the city is like a shell of itself. It's still destroyed. Not a lot has been rebuilt. So you'll be driving down to like Uptown and there's buildings boarded up Only a month or two ago, there was National Guard presence, just people with, the guards with rifles and
Right.
shotguns walking up and down the street. When they were obviously when they were about to announce the Chauvin, I don't know how to
Right.
say it. When they were doing all that, so there was protests constantly going down. George Floyd Square, that area that they had blocked off where George was murdered, the community had taken over that space, and they were trying to preserve that area since it happened. You can't even go in there, like it's all blocked off, and I think it's controlled by like the city, like by community. And they recently, like, just like by cover of night, the government came in and like removed all the barricades. So there was like a whole nother thing about that. It's conflicting because it's like there's no control, so the police presence is less, like, and I don't know if it's like, so no one's really policing people in Minneapolis, so like there's things are potentially more dangerous, but the cops are also can be potentially dangerous. So it's like, it's confusing but all that is real. All that stuff is going on. So cops aren't getting out to like calls that go on for like just random miscellaneous things, which is not a bad thing, but it's also, if there's nothing in place to facilitate what happens in those instances, it's confusing. The community wants to put other things in place that aren't cops to police, but I don't know how that's possible, because it's like, we don't have, people have to be trained, and like we have to find good people to do that too. So like, or with something else that's not great will happen. So there's a lot of stuff going on here that is not great, and it's a lot of infighting within the community organizers as well. We've gone and dropped off like rations and stuff like that. We don't talk much about it, but I'm not actively participating or mostly for my own safety, because it's like being again, it's a conflicting thing, because it's like, we're all about Black Lives Matter, of course, being a person of color, all about it. But as a trans woman, wow, maybe that doesn't always translate to that, because we're also still getting murdered, harassed in the streets,
targeted.
People, regardless of, so like, it's really conflicting for me. The cop thing is less conflicting, because the cops here have been predatory. Like, it's weird. Like, we live in North Minneapolis, which is right where the latest murder happened, or one of the latest murders, which is ridiculous. At a traffic stop, I forget the individual's name. You probably did hear about that one. I don't know if you have, but just killed trying to drive off in the car or something. That happened like 5 minutes down the road. But the cops like just patrol the neighborhoods here, like we're in a neighborhood spot, but you'll see them like just rolling around really slow, because they know, it's a place where there might be some drug activity, whatever it is, but they're also like actively like engaging and instigating by being so vigilant, if that makes sense. Like, it feels like they're like encroaching in our space. So I can see how that happens, and it's weird, and it hasn't really changed. Like, you could just tell, like, the cops, their minds are made up.
Well, you're not feeling any progression there.
I think that the community, there's progression in terms of like the community saying enough. And so like the community is making progress. I'm just trying to figure out what the government is going to do, because the government is also like strangleholds a lot of stuff as well. And like, I don't know, it's weird, because it's like they're trying to do the best for your safety, but at the same time, like, they're overstepping in their own ways, and then they're trying to make these extra laws with the mask mandates so it's weird. And then we're like a small business, so we have that aspect as well that we're trying to like, but it's going to be a long time, and you'll see it when you get here. We can show you the different spots and how different it is.
We're definitely even trying to, our plan is to just go right through where the show is, because I have heard that it doesn't feel like the same. It's not the same town it was. Like,
no, you should go check it out though. And it's not, nothing is dangerous.
No,
like, it's not.
I'm not even. But I have heard from friends that do live around the area. They don't feel like there's danger. They're just like kind of bummed about the city.
The system's a bit broken.
It's totally
for all.
No, not at all. And then because they've shut things down, the small businesses are struggling, and I'm sure that, you know, like they haven't put any systems in place to help the small businesses that have lost business because of what's happened. And
I hate that. I just hate it. I'm so for small businesses. I hate to see a small business scenario just completely disappear, not be able to survive this. I don't know how
there's been so many.
I don't know how they do survive it.
no, there's been like a lot of places that we used to love that are just gone. And not even that's with like pretty big institutions here. Like Muddy Waters was a great coffee shop. And
Yeah.
that's gone. Fifth Element closed up. I don't know why who knows
Right.
what happened with, I mean, they had all that other allegation stuff happen, but that was a huge place for people that were into hip hop. So that it's weird to see that not there, because it's been such a beacon in the cities.
Yeah, I heard an artist once say, with all of this, it sucks that all this is happening. But I kind of liked what he was saying. He was saying, you know, everyone's going to have to be, suffer some discomfort until everybody can be comfortable. And I guess that's sort of what's happening here. But man, I hope there's I don't know. I don't mean to end on that. I just wanted to know how the city was.
Oh, it's all good. It's important that people know that
it is important.
It's just different, and it's been through trauma on top of trauma. So it was the pandemic, and then that George Floyd thing was just insane and just so ridiculous. And so I hope we get to a place where, like you said, we can all just get along and get past a lot of the stuff going on. I think we will. I mean, we're on the path. I think
sounds like sounds like a very optimism kind of thing to be saying there.
Yeah, well, it's rubbing off on me.
Well, thank you so much again for joining us. I will get this drawing finished up for you. It'll probably take me another day, and I'll send you a picture of it. It was really a pleasure to have you on the show. So I look forward to meeting you in person.
Thanks. Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for coming out to that show, and we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
Cheers, Kristen.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Playing for it, fuck. It don't even matter when the noise isn't popping. You gon' have it, you gon' tell them like it's moment. You gon' have them, you can manage. Have it chicken, this is madness. They gon' eat it, this will have you give it.
Kristen, thank you again for joining me on DOD45. It was an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I felt our conversation was enlightening, and I sincerely enjoyed having you on. So thanks for the opportunity to chat with you today. I'm excited to visit your taco spot, MB Foodhouse, when I'm in Minneapolis for your show this upcoming weekend. I'm really looking forward to that. Head over to Noisewrap.com to give Moodie Black a listen and to hear the complexity of layers that Kristen produces, laced with perfectly matched vocals and lyrics. I've stated in the past that I'm not a music critic, and I can't explain why things are bad or good. I just know when they are, and Moodie Black is the latter, full stop. I'm loving what she and Sean have created with their latest album, Fuzz, and I think y'all will too, so go snatch that up. If you find yourself in the Minneapolis area, be sure to swing by MB Foodhouse for some of their delicious tacos. And finally, if you'd like to find out more about me and my art, head over to artbytai.com. That's art by TAI. If you come across the Art by Ty on Twitter, all I can say there is it's like trying to teach a dog to fly. It doesn't seem possible, but it could be fun if you give it a go. As always, you can find all the pertinent links below. That's it for now, everybody. Thanks for listening, and thank you for joining us. Cheers.
There are thoughts in my head that take place in my bed, and I don't have to lie.
Thanks for watching this episode of DOD45. I hope that you enjoyed yourself. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I don't want you to ever miss an episode. Also, stick around my YouTube page for a bit. There's a whole array of videos to enjoy, including time-lapse videos, drawing tutorials, and live streams. It's like an amusement park. Now click that subscribe button and go watch another episode of DOD45. Cheers.